HNO International focuses on developing green hydrogen systems and products, emphasizing cost effectiveness and scalability. They support multiple hydrogen markets covering production, storage, dispensing, and engine maintenance. And with me is the CEO, Don Owens. Welcome. Great
Hello.
to have you here.
Pleasure to be here.
Give me an overview of the company.
Okay, well, HNO International is basically, we structure it as an infrastructure business. You know, hydrogen is one of the most plentiful fuels on Earth, but until it becomes available to people, it's useless. And I mean, as a practical matter, you have a lot of hydrogen applications, buses, trucks, et cetera, but until the infrastructure is built, it may as well not exist.
Got it.
But that's, yeah.
So the infrastructure is what's needed, and
Yes.
there are other companies working on hydrogen energy. What makes HNO stand out?
Okay, well, that's a very good question, because in essence, most of the other companies produce large-scale hydrogen. And when I say large-scale, I mean in the megatons of hydrogen. And even though they make a lot of hydrogen, they have to distribute that hydrogen in a way that is not practical. Like, for example, if you have a big facility that makes 100 tons of hydrogen, they have to liquefy it, turn it into, ship it with a diesel truck to a location, which doesn't make any sense when you think about hydrogen.
Right, because you're using the diesel to get
That's
it.
right.
Got it.
And not only that, when you liquefy it, when you turn it, because the truck, if you're going to send hydrogen 1,000 miles, it doesn't make sense to send 1 kilogram. You just as soon send 10,000 kilograms with that same distance. But so in order to do that, they have to liquefy the hydrogen. And when they liquefy the hydrogen, they use a lot of energy to do that, and then they put them on the truck and then they ship them. But then when it gets to the other end, you have to de-liquefy it.
Oh, wow.
Because the applications don't use liquid hydrogen, they use gaseous hydrogen.
Okay.
And so that's part of the problem of why the existing structure and the way they're thought about is not going to work, not ever going to work.
That's why it's been slow to be adopted. So when you talk about hydrogen applications, what do you mean by that?
Okay, hydrogen applications are things that use fuel cells. For example, vehicles. You have vehicles that use fuel cell. We use hydrogen for fuel cells, which produces electricity, and that electricity is what powers the vehicle. You have buses. You have drones. You have all kinds of applications that use gaseous hydrogen. And so when I speak of hydrogen applications, that's what I mean. Now, hydrogen can also be used in combustion. When you use it in combustion, you use it blended with other fossil fuels. And when you blend it with fossil fuels, you can lower some of the emissions. But most of the applications are related to fuel cells.
Yeah.
Because when you use hydrogen with a fuel cell, the only emission is water, which is very, very clean.
Okay. Now, I know one of your slogans is local production, local consumption.
Yes.
Explain that.
Okay. Well, in fact, that's when I talk about the most of the mentality about production of hydrogen has been central production, large-scale production, and then distribution by trucks.
I see.
But we produce hydrogen on a small scale. Well, so we'll make it locally instead of making it in Indiana and then shipping it to California. Well, you make it in California. Okay. And you make it in California, then you can have your applications to use it in California. So that eliminates all that transportation costs, all of that energy that you use to liquefy and then de-liquefy, and all of the diesel trucks that you use to transport the hydrogen. And so that's why it's local production.
Okay.
I mean, local production, local consumption.
Local consumption. No, makes sense. And gas not liquid is another kind of philosophy that you have.
Yes.
Explain that.
Okay, it's what happens is unless you're planning on powering a space shuttle, you don't need liquid hydrogen, right? And that's what a lot of people don't understand. In fact, the way California built their hydrogen infrastructure, they built it on they did it at a time because they just didn't know any better, but they built it on a liquid foundation. Okay. So in other words, they had to have liquid hydrogen delivered and then de-liquefied, turn it back into gas, and turn it into so it can be used. But one of the reasons why Shell pulled out all of their hydrogen refueling stations in 2024 because it was just too too costly. They couldn't afford to do it. And this is Shell, because in essence, it was all based on liquid. When you're basing anything on liquid hydrogen, it's going to be too costly. You have a lot of municipalities, we talk to them all the time, that would like to have hydrogen fuel cells and hydrogen buses, but their thought is that they have to have a liquefaction plant, or at least a deliquification facility, so they can turn it into gas. But I am here to tell all these municipalities, you don't have to do that. You only use liquid hydrogen if you're planning on operating a space shuttle.
Okay,
Right?
Interesting. And then the franchise model for entrepreneurs, how does that fit into your
That's
business
good.
model?
Yeah, in essence, we believe in order for hydrogen to be a proliferant fuel everywhere, is that entrepreneurs have to get involved. And the thing about the model that we have created is even if you look at a McDonald's franchise, McDonald's franchise can cost anywhere from $1 million to $2 million, or $2.5 million by the time you do everything. One of our facilities to produce hydrogen can cost about the same thing, about a little bit over 2, maybe 3 million. But the thing that's different is that even though a McDonald's franchise may operate and have $3 million in revenues, their profit margin is about 10%. So it's only about $150,000 you actually profit after a whole year.
Interesting.
Now, with the hydrogen model, you can actually pay for your capital costs in less than 2 years. So and that's without including the government subsidies. So we built this model based on the fact that we don't need government subsidies in order to make money. Because if you're building a business based on government,
You never know. Administrations come and go, and yes,
that's
absolutely.
right, exactly. And so because of that, then a person can actually, now if you do have government subsidy, you just get your capital back quicker.
Sure.
But at the same time, we don't base it on that. We use technology that has been in existence for decades. The only thing that's different is we use, because compression, the oil and gas industry has always used compression. We teamed up with an oil and gas company. So the compression is not a big deal. The only thing we added to the mix was dispensing.
Okay.
So you can now do hydrogen dispensing. We're one of 3 companies in the country that make hydrogen dispensers. And so when you add hydrogen dispensers to a compression, you can end up having a whole facility for less than $3 million. And then you can, in about a year and a half, you can have contracts, which we have over $1.5 million in a year. So you're paying for your facility in less than 2 years. So it's a perfect model for a franchise.
And these are some of the products that you sell, right? Can you elaborate on everything that you have?
Yeah, in fact, we have a product called SHEP. Now, SHEP is an acronym for Scalable Hydrogen Energy Platform. Now, that platform, that scalable platform, is focusing on what we call small ball hydrogen. Instead of making a gazillion tons of hydrogen in one spot, we make 500 kilograms. Because 500 kilograms a day for most applications is way more than anybody needs. So if you have a bus station, that's 500 kilograms a day will more than service you. So that's SHEP. And we have another product called CHRIS. Now, CHRIS is a CHRS, which means Compact Hydrogen Refueling System. Okay, so what that unit enables us to, it doesn't produce hydrogen like SHEP, but it stores hydrogen. So you can put these CHRISs in locations all around the city, and then provide them with hydrogen. Then you can have literal hydrogen refueling stations everywhere. Okay, and just with one SHEP in the general facility, in the local facility, in the local vicinity, that is. And then we have a hydrogen carbon cleaner, which we call HCC unit, hydrogen carbon cleaner. What the hydrogen carbon cleaner does is it cleans the carbon from combustion engines. Every engine that exists creates carbon. And these carbon deposits cause it to run worse and worse and worse the longer that it runs. But the hydrogen carbon cleaner cleans those carbon deposits so that the engines can run better, less emissions, more mileage, et cetera. Because we know that combustion engines are going to be around for a while. They're not going anywhere in the near future.
It doesn't seem like it.
No, they won't be. They will be here. But we will transition. But this hydrogen carbon cleaner is a product that enables us to make in fact, I have a book called Burn Fuel Better, but it helps us to burn our fuel better with hydrogen.
Yeah.
And then the other product is something we call a mobile refueler. Now, one of the reasons why we developed a mobile refueler was there's a company in California that had all these hydrogen buses, and they were waiting for their contractor to build a hydrogen station so they can fill their buses. Now, the thing about their hydrogen stations is they were all based on liquid. So they're waiting, they could be waiting for almost 2 years for these things just to get permitted, all right? And so they came to us and said, listen, we have these buses. We need to we need hydrogen for these buses. We can't wait 2 years for these guys to finish developing these systems. So we end up developing a mobile refueler where you can take hydrogen, stored hydrogen, put it in our refueler, it compresses, it does everything they need, and then they can fill their buses with the dispenser. And so that's another product that we have, is a hydrogen, it's a mobile refueler.
Okay,
yes.
Okay, interesting. Now, there's been a lot of talk this year about data centers and AI and the energy demand.
Yes.
Nuclear stocks have done very well. Well, could hydrogen play a role in that?
Yes, hydrogen can be a very big role, particularly in the backup sector. Now, you can use hydrogen because a lot of data centers or a lot of places like that are beginning to use natural gas. You can either blend your hydrogen so you can reduce your emissions, which is something that's very positive because it reduces the footprint, the carbon footprint. Or they can, as backup, instead of using diesel generators, they can use hydrogen generators. They can store the hydrogen, run fuel cells. The fuel cells can turn on in an instant so that when you're running, if you do lose power, they can come on and quickly replace all of that power.
And, oh, sorry, finish your thought.
Oh yeah, and plus it's clean. So the whole idea of data center, they are energy hogs, and they will always be pretty much energy hogs. But and we can't eliminate that, but we can try to make the power that they're using a lot greener, and that's what hydrogen can do.
Okay, and Bitcoin mining.
Bitcoin.
Another area that's requiring a lot of energy. Is hydrogen playing a role, or
Yes.
could it play a role in those?
Hydrogen can also play almost a similar role as with data centers.
Okay.
Because the thing about Bitcoin mining particularly, miners tend to run when the energy is lowest or best. So you can by having hydrogen stored, you can make sure that your miners are running at an optimal period of time by providing energy to it.
Yeah.
So it's very good.
And then you have plans perhaps to uplist. Explain where you are in that process.
Okay. Well, we started off, I guess, a couple of years ago, and we became fully reporting on the OTC. And one of our objectives has been to uplist to the Nasdaq. Now, obviously, in order to uplist to the Nasdaq, one of the things you have to do is have some revenues. We're just now getting to the point where we are generating revenues, okay? And we also are getting to the point where those revenues are pretty significant because of some of the products that we have. So our long-term, not even, I wouldn't say long-term, our short-term objective is to be uplisted to the Nasdaq by late summer of next year. So of 2025.
Yeah.
But that is definitely a goal of ours because we know that hydrogen has sizzle for lots of reasons. It's a very, very good fuel. It's a way to build an infrastructure throughout the world that's based on clean energy, and everybody, most people would like to see us transitioning in that direction. And the potential benefits, not only to society, but it's also lots of benefits to entrepreneurs and to other people that want to go into business, in the energy business.
Well, it's interesting. You have a different business model too. Rather than hauling the hydrogen far away, keep it local.
That's right.
Which then you'd get the benefits of green energy.
That's right. Local production, local consumption.
Got it. Don, thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Jay.
Great to hear about HNO.
Thank you very much.